Welcome to another edition of London Calling, celebrating rock and pop from the 70s, 80s and 90s. You've made a wise choice of viewing. Later on, we'll be looking at Flashback Records in Islington. But first is the final part of our scout around Camden, kicking off with Koko. It's been Koko for the past 10 years, but depending on your age, it will be forever the Camden Palace or the Music Machine. Opened as a theatre in 1900 and then embracing cinema 13 years later, it's seen many changes during its lifetime. The BBC took it over as a radio theatre in 1945, and it then became home to The Goon Show, and later was the recording for the first Monty Python album. In the early 70s, the BBC moved out and rock moved in, and this place was rechristened the Music Machine. Many of the punk and new wave acts of the time played here. In December '79 you could see The Cure, supported by the Associates, XTC, Killing Joke and Slade, all for a couple of quid. In 1982, Steve Strange and Rusty Egan, then at the height of their pop fame with Visage, were looking for a new challenge, after single-handedly creating the new romantic movement at the Blitz Club. They bought the venue, and it then became the Camden Palace, bringing with it a touch of glamour, attracting stars from across the pond like Grace Jones, and a completely unknown Madonna, who made her UK debut appearance here in 1983. The 1980 film Breaking Glass with Hazel O'Connor would have its concert sequences filmed here. Later into the 80s, the Feet First Indie Club Night would become legendary and has recently been reinstated here to its original home here at Koko. The Good Mixer pub on Inverness Street in Camden inadvertently became the epicentre of the Britpop scene in the mid-90s. Legend has it that it was in the toilets here that the Gallagher brothers first locked horns with the Blur Camp, and so began the feud that would culminate in the battle for #1 supremacy in the summer of '95.
Two of Britain's most popular pop groups have begun the biggest chart war in 30 years. The Manchester band Oasis and their arch rivals Blur have released new singles today, each hoping to reach the #1 spot next week.
The Forum, or the former Town and Country Club, had a great reputation throughout the 80s and early 90s. Opened as an Art Deco cinema in 1934, after a decade or so of bingo oblivion throughout the 70s, it was then given a new lease of life as a music venue in the early 80s, and it soon became an essential stop-off for both up-and-coming and established acts. Notable appearances include the only UK appearance of the reformed Velvet Underground in '93, and Van Morrison, who was the last to play here when it was the Town and Country Club, and the first when it was rechristened as the Forum. It's still going strong today as a music venue. Unfortunately, the same can't be said of the nearby Bull and Gate pub, which is just a few yards away. Last year, after 33 years service, sadly the Bull and Gate pub closed its doors as London's premier toilet venue. Many bands paid their dues here, including PJ Harvey, Pulp, Muse and the Manic Street Preachers, and Coldplay even signed their record contract here. The 150 capacity venue was described famously by a music boss as having the smell of the gorilla's cage at London Zoo. Now, it might be slightly more fragrant when it reopens as a gastropub later this year, but London will lose a vital part of its musical heritage. Flashback Records are two independent record shops in North London, one in Crouch End and the other down the Essex Road in Islington, where I paid a visit. It has an excellent website for mail order and also an amazing shop. And that's why it's Record Shop of the Month. here at Flashback Records, which is on Essex Road in Islington, here with the owner, Mark Burgess. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
So tell me more about how this shop was established. I believe it goes back to 1997.
Yeah, I'd been working at Reckless Records as a manager in their Islington branch, and me and my then girlfriend set up Flashback afterwards. She was in charge of doing the clothes and bric-a-brac and second-hand stuff, which was on the ground floor here.
You had a vintage clothes
so
section here.
Yeah, vintage clothing and bric-a-brac.
Yeah.
And then upstairs I did the vinyl and the music. But then that relationship sort of ended. And so, yeah, my heart wasn't into the vintage clothing side, my heart was in the records.
Sure.
And that's what I knew about. So we closed down the vintage clothing and we've been a record shop ever since.
And you've opened another shop in Crouch End, I believe.
Yeah, about 8 or 9 years ago we opened up there. It's a slightly smaller premises.
Yeah.
That was taking over a record shop, in fact, from a friend of mine who used to run a shop called Listen there. Mm-hmm. And they got a bit dispirited and wanted to move on and do other things. So I moved in and took over.
Great. And do you find that you're across the board in terms of the type of people you attract? Any particular genre that's more popular than any other?
Yeah, things go in waves, and at certain times, certain things are more. There was an easy listening boom in the early sort of 2000s, and everyone was into anything cheesy or that sort of thing.
Lounge music.
Yeah, lounge
sort of
music.
thing,
That's now sort of died down a bit.
Okay.
But no, we have customers right the way across the age spans, from teenagers coming in looking for singles or looking for CDs, right through to sort of octogenarians looking for that classic piece from their youth or something. So
you're still selling some VHS and audio cassettes as well, aren't you?
Well, not really. we tried to get on the sort of tapes are gonna sell again. They're the new trendy format, but I think it's a very mini revival on cassettes. I think it's really gonna happen.
Whereas
VHS definitely not.
Whereas vinyl is still very, very healthy.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, vinyl sales have been growing tremendously. Year on year, they've been going up every year for the last at least 6 or 7 years.
Right.
And things like Record Store Day in April really help to keep the public aware of it. And show that the record companies are on board they produce lots of sort of limited edition vinyl specifically for independent record shops.
Great.
So that sort of keeps us going.
Excellent. So you also have some bands playing here occasionally, I believe.
Well, and we've got Thurston Moore coming in on Friday evening. By the time this goes out, you'll probably have missed it. But and he's the best, the most exciting.
That's
person we've
quite
ever
cool,
had.
isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, But we've had a lot of other people have played here, and we've been doing gigs for about 5 or 6 years now.
Excellent.
And they're almost always completely packed out. It's free, and we give away beer, so why not?
Great. Get along to the next one. Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? Don't forget to check out stevejessen.com for more vintage views, and I'll be here same time, same place next week. In the meantime, don't forget to remember. Bye.